Hey guys, it's Sharon, back with the Britton Company. And I am so excited to tell you that, to show you, you can see I am actually in my sewing nook. So in the room, I kind of have 4 points in my studio slash, let's just fix that. The girls need better situated. Sorry, I'm so sorry. But I'm not cutting it because this is the third take. In my craft room slash studio, I kind of have 4 corners, and normally you see me in that direction filming when I'm showing you the hauls, and then across from it is where I show you when I'm doing paper crafting, and this is there to there to there. Over here is my sewing nook. And then in that direction, in the other corner, is where you would have seen me a couple months ago when I still had kind of the weird shelving over there, and this room was sort of being torn apart. I have promised that I would show you when it was all back together again. It's still not all back together again. We're still in stages. I'll show you when it looks pretty, I promise. And you'll be able to reference back. I'll pull those old videos and let you reference back to those. So anyway, moving on, I'm really excited. I love to sew, and so I've been doing a lot of paper crafting lately, but I've also been making these cool things, which I've been showing you. I think they're cool, which I've been showing you, and I'm excited to show this to you so you can see this one's at its final stages of having the border put on. Border, it's not called a border. Oh my word, it's so sad, but I can't think of words. Somebody out there would tell me. Anyway, finishing parts. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to start by showing you some of what we're going to do, and showing you the pieces, and then I'm going to switch the camera down just while I'm doing the sewing, and I'll probably chat while I sew, because y'all know I chat while I do stuff. We do have the just a couple of in the news for Little Britton Company. We have a couple of things happening. Some of my Temu earrings. I ordered several different like rabbity ones. So speaking of Temu, I am doing a cooperation with Temu, which I'm very excited about. The video should be coming out this week. I hope that the items came in. I'm super excited. So what you will see coming up will be a crafting haul, fully crafting haul, just crafts. And in there I have sewing items, and I have paper crafting items. So I will be making a paper craft album, not a junk journal this time. This will be an album that will build from the ground up, literally from nothing to something, I hope. And then with the other items, we're going to be doing a sewing project. So 3 videos coming up, and I'm just really excited to do, so often we see people doing the hauls, and I think that it's kind of fun to be able to see the hauls turn into things. I hope you want to see that too. So we got that going. And then other big news, Little Britton Company is changing its name. Not too much. We are going to become Little Britton Company Crafts, just so that it makes sense. So that, Little Britton Company, people were seeing lots of different things, but if you look for Little Britton Company Crafts, it just makes more sense, because that's what we do. So that's a little change coming up. None of my other handles will change. It's just that on the channel you will see that slight change, and then it won't change when you look for me, or it's just that's who we now will be. But all my you can always see us on. I do have Facebook. I don't do much on there. I still need to get to that and start getting that more involved in that one. But for YouTube and for my Gmail is always still littlebritandco@gmail.com. If you ever want to send me a message, please feel free. I'll try to add that in here. We'll see if I forget. Y'all are so kind. You usually remind me, and I love you for it. Anyway, I think that's everything in the news. Yesterday we were at King's Dominion, and it was absolutely wonderful day. Griffin and his friend, and my husband, just they are all roller coaster heads. And so they spent, oh my word, the entire day. It was pouring rain. Okay, there's a story. I always promise you no stories this time. There's always a story. It was hammering rain when we got there, but we had checked the weather forecast and we were fairly confident that we would get some decent weather. So for about the first 35, 40 minutes, it was hammering rain. We went into the store. I used the facilities, which was necessary after a 2-3 hour drive. And then we got lunch. And by the time we were done, because it opened at 11, by the time we were done with all those things, it had started to clear up just a little bit. There was hardly anyone there. This was supposed to be the first day of spring break, of their spring break season. But with that kind of weather, I think people were really nervous about planning and pre-planning to go. And it was supposed to have high winds. They did not have high winds. We had beautiful, sunny, gorgeous day. After the rain passed away, which was by noon, it was, lovely. And we had a lovely day, and literally, I did one little snippet of video, which I may include, but there's nobody there. Literally, you could walk through the park and see nobody for a while, which was super cool. And so the kids, which includes my husband, were jumping on and off whatever roller coasters they wanted to ride. So they had a great day. It really was fabulous. Griffin's friend is wonderful. She's very, very sweet. And it was just a lovely day. It was just a lovely day. And he said it was the best birthday ever. So that made me, as a mama, when your kids say this was fabulous, this was a wonderful day, thank you, mama. My heart just goes nutty. Anyway, so there's all the news and the little story. But let's get going. Let's get going on this. So we're making a dish drying mat, and we're actually starting with, I'm not gonna write it. We're starting with the dish drying mat. So I've shown you all these before. We've hauled them. They were in the latest Dollar Tree. I get these at Dollar Tree. There are other places to get them, and I haven't tried those yet, but I will. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you a few things from this angle, and then I will show you. I'll point the camera down. Be careful with my scissors. I'll point the camera down, and we will. I'll show you just sewing. So this just has a single. I'm going to show you this because I made this mistake on one, and it was a pain to fix. So I'm pulling out the little. I don't know if you can see that little thing. These little thing. Can you see that little thing? I don't know. Let's see. I'm not even in front of the camera. There we go. There we go. Probably isn't focusing, but those little things, those little tiny things that hold it all together. Now, the reason I mention those is because, okay, so I'm feeling, it has 3 in these. 3 that you have to cut apart, which means you've got to find 6 pieces. And I say that because I thought I had everything. There's another one. I thought I had everything for one of them, and I didn't. And it got sewn in, and it just, you could feel it. And it drove me nuts. Drove me nuts. I had to find a way to cut it out. I did eventually, but it was a wee bit of a nightmare. So I really just run my hands over that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just running my hands kind of over the entire thing, making sure that I haven't missed any of those little nubby pieces that just don't feel good when you touch them. Okay, and then I take this because this is going to get, it's going to get moved around, and it doesn't have any pertinent information on there. It really doesn't. Well, it has a little bit. About washing with light colors, don't bleach, flat dry, don't iron, and do not dry clean. So, which is interesting, but so you're not supposed to iron this directly. I do, and I'm not saying anyone should, but I use it like this, and I haven't had any problems. So I sometimes use these on this side, and I'll iron on this. But this is cotton here, so I don't know. It says don't iron. I don't always pay attention to the rules. Okay, So let me move that up. Okay, so using this one, again, so as we go through this, so pre-warning, these are not even. The top and bottom are okay even, and it just depends on which one you get. I mean, you might get one that's pretty close. That looks pretty even, but they're not. So when you do your binding, that's the word I was looking for, binding. When you do your binding, that's when I kind of even up these sections. Even then, it can be a little bit wonky, but you know, it is what it is. And this is very, can you see the curve on that one? This is very off. So just keep that in mind when you're doing these. You can clean those up when you're finishing it, and when you're doing your finishing parts to it. If you don't want to use your binding, or you know, the binding could be a little bit wonky, you can really just with your roller and just cut. You don't have to have this. Once we're done sewing, you don't need this part that's sewn on. So you can certainly even that up if you so choose. I generally work around it because, you know, that's pain. But it would be easy enough to get rid of it and really even make it more even. Okay, so there's that one, and there's a couple of tips about that one. I always sew my my strips down on this side, the side that did have this. I don't know why. It's just the way I do it. So I also, and I'm going to link the video for the woman who I learned this from, which was just a great video that she put out. But so on the top of my machine, I have the, I have like an off-white, which kind of goes with everything. But in my, my bobbin, I use whatever color this is. And then you just don't see it. So I'll show you again. So this is, you know, you can see that I've sewn it because you can see kind of the lines coming across, but you can't really see where I sewed it much. It's pretty well hidden. And that just has to do with where it, you know, with the bottom thread being the same color. So when I do the green, I have a nice seafoam green that pretty much matches it. The red, and then the blacks. Anyway, so y'all get the picture. Okay, so there's that. I have a little iron going behind me. Let's see if you can see that. This is my iron that I keep on. It's this itty bitty thing, and I'll try to link it just, you know, in case anybody needs something like that. I also have a really nice, yeah, I'm very messy behind me. I have a really nice one of the Oslo irons, Oslo, the ones that go and they stand up on their own. I have that one, but it's too big to use over here. I use that when I'm doing like major ironing and things. So that I have that one, which is lovely. My husband bought that for me for Christmas, and I know that sounds weird, but I really wanted it. So, and it's kind of expensive, so he got me that for Christmas one year. And then let me show you what else I'm grab these strips. So what we're using on these are the 2.5-inch strips. Let me grab a few more. I think this is all of them. I'm gonna grab. There we go. Okay, so I'm using 2.5-inch strips, and if you're familiar, if you're a quilter, you know that this is, you know, these are pretty common. They're 2.5 by width of fabric normally. So you can see I've got just a ton of different kinds. You can certainly use them from one collection. I bought this huge pack, honestly, a couple of years ago. It had like 100 in it, it was all, you know, whatever you got what you got. It was all random. I was very happy with it. I knew it was random florals. I've been very happy with it. And all of these ones that you've seen me show you, all of them came from fabrics that were in this pack. So it is the gift that keeps on giving, because I swear I have made, I've made these, I've made, some of my, the keychain things, the wristlets. I worry about my brain. The wristlets, but I've done that all my life. you know, those words. What's funny is I can always remember that it is a form of mild aphasia that everyone has when you lose a word. So the fact that I can remember the word aphasia, but I can't remember wristlet, just drives me nuts. I don't know. Anyway, so what we're gonna do is I'm going to pick, and I kind of have a few picked out. I'm gonna pick a few randomly that I think will look good together. I think I just did these. I feel like I just did these on one of the other ones. I think I did. And I've tried really hard to mix stuff up. Maybe I didn't. Maybe these were the ones I was putting aside. Because I adore that fabric. I don't know why. I just do. I just do. But I'm pretty sure that I just made one out of that. So with these, you're not going to use the full length. So I've been cutting my pieces to about 13 to 14 inches, just to give it a little bit of length from the over the top and the bottom. And then from there, I can kind of work out how much I have left. And I've been able to use these strips for on the dryer mats. So I use them to cover the dryer mat, and then I piece them together and use them for the binding, and still have, you know, tons left. I mean, y'all saw this. You see this big pile. I like to use tiny pieces like this on in my binding, and it just makes a really nice. You can see it on this one. I just like how it does these interesting corners for me. So the corners are a little bit, you know, different. That one. All right. So I have stayed away from polka dots because I had a bunch of polka dots on here. Well, not total. I've used some of these nice pastel-y polka dots. Okay, so we're gonna find a few cool pieces that go together. So I'm gonna go ahead, actually I'm gonna stop this one, I'm gonna switch it so that you can see what I'm doing from this point on, and we're just gonna go from there, and I'll start sewing. Okay, so hopefully this works pretty well. It's interesting. This is the first time I've done it like this, and the camera is kind of high, but it's high enough that hopefully you can see what we're doing over here. I will try to keep it in view. So right now I'm just kind of picking my pieces. So this is too small. I'm going to put it out of the way. I really like this one. And this is what I've been doing. Now, you could absolutely just randomly grab whatever scraps you got. You don't, you know, this is me really being fussy and picking and choosing, but it's not really necessary. I really could just grab and go. But I am fussy when I do these. I'm very fussy. Fussy. I think I just did a bunch of this one. You can see, I really like that one, but it's too small. Okay. I have some seriously small pieces that will not work for this. And some pieces I just don't think are a good fit for it. So, you can, you know, do the same pieces or do a repetition of pieces, however you see fit. I like to do different pieces going throughout. So when you do it that way, it requires eight different pieces. So I'm going to look for 8 different colors. Let's see where I am. And then I'll match them up. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got 6 here so far. So I'm just kind of looking for other ones. That actually doesn't belong here. That one is from a different project, and it's too different. And then when I do the border, I will be doing something even more different because I like my border to not be the same as the ones that I've done. I'm like, this might work. All right, that one might work. I love this one. Oh, I love this one. Let me put this over here. So this is clearer. There we go. Sorry about the lighting. So I have yet to really work out my lighting issues over here. We'll get there. But this one I love, but I still want to find the right pieces. I feel like this one needs something special, like more oranges and more of this sort of nice gray. It's really bad lighting. Oh well. Thinking maybe that one. So these are ones that I actually haven't cut into at all yet. Although that one might work. That one might work. All right. So now, oh, that one might work. All right. Now I get to audition my pieces. So I'm going to move these back behind me in a bit of a clump. Just get them out of the way. And I'm going to move that just a little bit over there. And I'm going to start by just sort of figuring out what I like and what I think works here. So I'm just going to line it up a little bit. You may not be able to see all of it. I'm going to try. I like to alternate kind of slightly darker, slightly lighter. And then I'll pick one piece, which will be this piece today, that I want to be very focused in the middle. Maybe this one? Maybe. No, I think I want something different. So I have a few extras here. That one's kind of cute right there. So looking at this piece and the other ones that I have here, I think this is way too busy for what I already have here. I think it would change the flow of it. So I'm going to move this one out of the way. This one might work. And I have this very blue piece here. And I have this one here. So let's see. If this one goes at the end, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that would be 6. Yep, this is what I do. So as I audition pieces, I kind of want to make sure that if this one's gonna stand out, it stands out. Oh, all right, I'm liking that so far. So I may do this one. Nope, don't like it. Changes the flavor. Let's try this one. That's only 7. So what if we switch? I know, I'm talking to myself, but if I do this, the other thing that I found is that even when I go straight in the middle, even when so what I'll do is we'll start these pieces in the middle, and I'll show you what that's going to look like. I'll find the middle as close as I can, because remember, this is a little bit wonky. So when I find the middle, I will connect these two. So even when I do that and I'll start moving in opposite directions, it should end up evenly on both sides. It doesn't. For whatever reason, it doesn't. It never does. I have one side that's going to be perfect, and then one side where it's just a little tiny strip of it. So so I'm looking at this, if y'all can see that. I kind of like this. I think it's kind of working for me. And so I'm going to go with it. Because otherwise I will sit here and angst about it all day. So the next thing I'm doing is, I'm going to move this a little bit so you can see this part. So I take, all right, let's move a little bit more. Are we dizzy yet? Sorry. So sorry. All right. So I really just take these pieces and I measure them, you know, approximately 14 inches. This is about 14 inches from one end to the other. It doesn't have to be a full 14 inches. And I'm just cutting that off, and, you know, then I have a whole nother strip I can use on a whole nother mat. So you get quite a bit out of these. What I do want to do is I don't want to rethink it. So I'm going to stack them in the order that I had them. And these little pieces I love because those become those interesting little corners. Okay. So I'm just going to keep cutting here for a minute. Oh, moved it around. No, 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 no. Do not move like that. That would be just disastrous. Yes, I talked to my fabric. It has not answered me yet. But any day now, I'm sure it will. So I also do this. So this is my first, this is 4 for one side, regardless of the side. And these are all pretty much non-directional, which is what you really want. So I have this one. I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to move that one out of the way, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start with the furthest one over, and I'm going to stack them again. And the reason I do this is if I don't, I'm going to get them out of order. And the minute they're out of order, I'm going to have to go back and, you know, try to really refigure out how I had them, how I liked them the first time. And that's just a pain. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to do it this way. That was the last one. I have this one, which is kind of fun. This one's very different. And again, I'm trying to be careful to cut them approximately the same lengths. Yes, there'll be some loss in your length. You're going to end up cutting off pieces from the top and bottom, but it ensures that that it's never too small. It's never too short. And that's really your biggest goal at this point. For me. Just saying, okay, I need sustenance before I go forward. Y'all can hear you can hear me doing it. So it's funny, lighting is so funny when we start doing these. Okay. So what I want to do here is I have a little trash can next to me, so no, it will not all hit the trash can, but I'm not just throwing it on the floor. Even though it looks like that. So you can, if you can see this piece, this one length here is almost okay until I get to the top and it curves off in a crazy direction. But if this is lined up straight, look at how crazy that is. It's just wonky. But I don't want to mess with that right now. Messing with that right now is just going to take me time, and there's no point. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to fold this in half. Now, when I fold it in half, what I'm going to see is I cannot use these lines as guides. Not on this mat. I mean, I'm sure that if I bought more expensive mats, dryer mats, if I went to, you know, some of the more expensive stores and bought those, I probably could, but I cannot do that with the Dollar Tree mats. They're way too wonky. So I do want to, however, start in the middle. Because if I start in the middle, it's just going to make my piece work better. So I'm just going to go ahead. I moved it, so good gracious. Seriously, guys, this one is seriously wonky. Like, seriously. All right, I'm trying to get this in the middle. There you go. Now. Perfect. Pretty much. All right. So now I have the middle. I make sure that I'm on this side. And we start going really easy. This one's a little bit wonky. So I'm actually just going to do this. Because I don't want it wonky. Not when I start. wonky generally leads to a wonky mess. Or me just being a wonky mess. Okay, so I'm going to try to line it up as best I can from that top and bottom one. There's that one. There's that one. This is not an exact science, guys. And that's okay. It will be beautiful. And a lot of this is going to work itself out by the time I'm done. Now, I actually don't normally pin because pinning takes time. But for today, I'm going to pin because I'm showing y'all that I don't want to mess up. This thing. However, if I messed up, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to sweat about it. I am not a perfect sewer. I don't claim to be, and I don't really, if you're going to be a seamstress, more power to you. I don't sew clothing because I don't have the patience to do the, minutia of detail sometimes. I want to go, I like my projects to be relatively fun and easy. And if I, this is going to look great, but if it's, all right, I'm going to stop talking about perfect. I just don't have time in my life to be perfect. That takes too much time. Too much time in my life to be perfect. But I do like it to look good. Okay. So I've got these pinned together. Remember that, so what I've done here is once I found the middle, I put one strip on one side of that middle. And then I put the other, so I put it down so that it was good side up. And so with the second strip, it is good side down. So they're sandwiched. They're facing each other. Good sides are facing each other. And you'll see why in a minute. And I'm just going to sew along this edge. And I'm going to get myself under my sewing machine here. I'm going to move you back over here so you can see what I'm doing. Hopefully, this is so funny. It's so funny. Okay. And again, I'm sorry about the lighting. I know the lighting is wonky. So I already had gray in my bobbin case. Yeah. Now, the other thing, I'm going to sew it about a quarter of a stitch. I mean, quarter of a stitch. I'm going to sew it about a quarter inch, and I'm just going to keep my eye on my my presser foot. But, and I apologize ahead of time. This sewing machine, I have a Singer heavy duty here, and it will shake the daylights out of the table. So I apologize for the shake, rattle, and roll you're about to get every time I sew. Also, I start on the outside of, this is one of the reasons that I have the extra fabric. I'm not going to measure to exact lengths. I want to start out here because it ensures that I'm going to get good coverage once I start coming in here. And then once I put my binding on, I also do a top stitch. I do a stitch, basting stitch. I am set at approximately, my length is about 3. So let's get going, and I won't talk while stitching. I will talk while stitching because that's what I do. I'm taking this one out. And the reason I'm taking it out, 1, I want to keep checking this, but 2, this has a tendency to pucker. And I do not want it to pucker. Okay. First piece done. All right. So I'm going to move those out of the way. And we've got our first 2 pieces together. Now, I did iron before, but I do, I don't know where that came from. But I am going to give it a quick press here to get it nice and flat. Like I said, okay. And now I started in the middle, and the reason that you do that is also, once again, about puckering. Well, not apparently, I've seen it. So if I start on one end and I move in this direction, for some reason, it just gets wonky. If you start in the middle and you move out in the directions, you're kind of going in different directions with your with your sewing. And it seems to be less wonky. It seems to stay straighter. So I'm just going to grab my next strip and I'm going to put it on here. Now, you'll see, if you, some people just like to pin. It definitely keeps your projects nice and straight. Look at that. I want to show you this. Remember, I just got these. These are not from a high-end quilting distributor who would make sure that these were, exactly 2.5 inches. You can see this one is actually a little bit off. Now, I don't know whether that's my sewing. I don't think so. I think I had a good stitch there. Or whether this is just because the strip itself was slightly off, which I've seen with some of these. But I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to get it as straight as I can on the top and the bottom, which seem to be pretty straight. And then I'm going to, with my quarter-inch stitch, I'm going to watch this top fabric, and I'm not going to worry about looking at that bottom fabric when I sew over the top of it. So if you're a beginner sewer, and again, this is incredibly beginner friendly, but if you're a beginner sewer, that's just, I would pin. When I was first starting back out again, and I used to sew clothing, shockingly enough. Yeah, after I just went through that whole thing about I just don't have the patience for it. And I don't. I did period clothing. Which was very fun. And I used to sew clothing for my eldest. Oh, sorry, see? And, but I just find that it's, I find it tedious. I like my projects to go quickly and be done. Or, that's sad. All right, let's go. And I am checking along the way. Then I just raise everything up and go down with the next one. I don't apply pressure. So again, this is very much a beginner project. So if you're a sewer, you're going to look at this project and figure it out pretty quickly. But if you're a beginner sewer, you might want to, good gracious, this thing is like shedding. I like to smooth it down. So you don't want to pull. So I know that it may not appear that way, but I'm not pulling. I'm letting the machine do the work. This one's slightly shorter than the other ones. I'm just lining it up well. So in it goes. And each time I'm attaching it, I'm making sure that I've got it on this side of the mat. So truly, my hand is just a guide. Oh, did you see me go wonky right there? It happens. It's not going to hurt. And honestly, I'm probably the only one who can. I don't know if you can even see where I went wonky. I can see it, but I felt it. I sure felt it. Okay, so we're getting some good coverage, and you can see on the back. What I do want to keep pushing it down when I'm ironing it, and I'm keeping it kind of in place because I don't want it to pucker on the back either. So I'm about to put it in without putting this. Okay, so this is my last strip on this side. I'm gonna put this one on. And then we'll start on the other side. Ooh. So another tip here is that the mat becomes, the further you get on this side, that I have found that I need to keep self-correcting the mat. It wants to keep tipping in this direction. It's the pull of it. And that's, it's just what it does. So I want you to see here, this is not a big deal. This is going to be covered up by the binding. I am not going to be concerned that this doesn't reach all the way over, because that is kind of what these do. I know it's all going to work. But again, you're dealing with some really wonky stuff here. I do not mind dealing with the wonky. And I will, one of our last things, we're going to go and sew that around, but not yet. I'm going to switch off and we're going to start moving on this side. So I think this is the next fabric. Let me bring these down. It's getting hot in here. Y'all know me and hot. I get hot. Okay. So now I'm going to do this, but you'll notice that because I'm putting it on this side, before I was sewing in this direction. I can't even see that. Sorry. So I just put my next fabric down. So before I was sewing in this direction, now I'm going to be sewing in this direction. And it should keep it from getting, too wonky. Let's give that a shot. It can also be a little difficult to start sometimes. That last one was being a pain to start. So what I'm doing, I'm just going to, what I keep doing is I'm going to keep sort of pulling that up a little bit and double checking and pulling up and double checking that my spacing is correct. That I've got it directly on the right side. Why that did that. Okay. Alrighty. So really, now I've made entire quilts using just this 2.5 inch strips. Okay, this one looks like it's a little bit, you can see right there, it's a little bit wonky again. It's not lining up perfectly, so I'm just going to have to make sure that I line it up perfectly on my machine, or at least as well as it's going to get. Guys, it is what it is. My voice is going very deep for some reason. I don't know. Okay. So, I'm sorry, what you can't see, because I can't get the camera high enough to do this, what you're not seeing is I'm re-straightening it. As soon as I put it down, I'm putting it together one more time and making sure I've got it nice and straight. Make sure that's lined up. Yep. For some reason, with some of these, it's like every third mat I made, the thread would just snap off. Really weird, and I had to rethread it. Okay. So what's cool here is we're going to be able to see pretty quickly what it looks like. This is such a fun and quick project. Seriously, if you're anything like me, you're going to want right out to Dollar Tree and buy a dozen more of these mats and just start making them for everybody you know. It's just, let's see, what are your colors? Let me get your colors and I'll make you a dryer mat. Like Grandma Lynn, her her kitchen is in reds. So I'm going to have to do a red one. Kind of retro reds is what she does in hers. So that's just going to be, I've got to buy some more strips or make some. These are pretty easy to make. You can certainly cut your own. The heck is that? Oh, it's just an extra string. Okie dokie. All right. So look at this. So isn't that interesting? So on this one, we really were right in the middle, and yet I told you each time I have one that's going to go kind of over, and one that's a little bit short. This one was not as bad as some of the ones that I've seen where it's just, you know, it ended up like here, even though the other one ended up in the same place. These mats are not totally even. Okay, so we now have, it's pretty much, you know, it's looking pretty close to done. At this point, I do this. And this might seem a little bit different. And it is a little bit different. So what I want to do it like this. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just do a base stitch all the way around. Just to ensure that it's holding in place when I go back to do the binding. I really, really like using these flat needles. These are super fun. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to just do now I'm just going to sew around, and I might be lazy and not even put it on basting. I just sew it around. I do like to start I like to start on one side, and we'll just go quick. And you can see how far off this one really is. Now I'm actually using my finger to feel the edge of this. I'm going to go very slowly. And I'm going to hand crank right there and turn. Not quite at the end there. Okay. So now this is kind of a weird thing that I do, I suppose. I'm feeling the edge. And I'm going to go along that edge, pretty close to the edge. I'm using it to feed it through. Get to the very edge of this one. This is going to help me. I've got to have a pretty straight stitch here. I feel like this needs to go just one more stitch. There we go. And it's going to give me a good starting point. Now I'm trying to let the fabric be my guide. That's pretty good. And on this side, I'm letting the mat be my guide. It's wonky right there. So the corner is in the right place. I'm gonna try to get one more stitch over. Oh, that was not smart of me. All right. It's funny how that single stitch can make such a difference. All right, so we're almost done. And there we go. And we got all of these weird lines coming rolling. Now, okay, now I'm gonna put this up a little bit. I am at the point where I need to clean up the back so I can start working on my my border. Y'all know what I mean at this point. So I'm just gonna get rid of some of these. As I've been going around, I've actually ended up sewing down some of the sides. Now there are two ways that I can do this. I can do it the lazy way, which I may do, but this one's really wonky. So the lazy way is just taking my scissors and just, cutting along here. And the more, appropriate way would be to get out my straight edges and roller cut straight edges, which requires me getting up and moving to my other, maybe. So this one really does have some very wonky sections. You can see right here. No, you can't. Look at how this one goes. Across here and here. It is pretty wonky. So, yeah, and by trying to follow it, I went way over. Now, that's not going to make a big difference when once I put the basting down, depending on how I do the basting. I just have to be cautious about the straight edges of my basting. This one is a little bit wonky, so I may just go ahead and cut it. So I'm going to turn that over my lovely quilt and press and move down a little bit and see if I have... See where why are they hiding? Let's see, will this one work? This one will work. Okay, so in order to make this straight, it's really hard to make straight. I will tell you that. I wouldn't have wanted to do this beforehand. I could straighten it up like this. But then I have to make sure, well, I guess I can do it from here. Yeah, I could do that. That's what I'm going to do. So in order to make it straight, I don't know if you can see that. I'm lining up this row of stitches with this line. And if I do that, then I should be able to, this isn't quite, I should be able to get a bead on the line here. I need my longer ruler. That one won't do. It is too short. So let me get, they're behind me. Oh, and, okay. That's better. Now I can see over the edge, and I want to get, yeah, if I do that right there, that's going to get pretty close. Now I may need to re-sew this. Once I do that, this is probably so close that I'm going to have to re-sew it. But we're going to do it. And just straighten this thing up because, whoa, look at that. It's like a fish. All right. So let me take a quick peek at how, oh, well, that actually is just fine. Remember that, yes, this is a little bit wonky now. And you can see into the, you know, you can't, I'm not showing you. And you can see into the filling, but that's okay because I have a much straighter line. And what that does for me is it gives me a straight line to work with now. It's going to give me a straight line. Here. Wow-ish. This is... Okay, because I need to come down a little bit. All right. I'm going to use this. I need to be able to see where I am on the mat. So I need a little bit of it showing. Here we go. Okay, so I've just used that to line up. And now I should be able to see mostly. Okay, you can't see this top part, but what I can tell you is I can't see the top part because of this piece coming over here. So I'm going to trim that back a little bit. And we're going to do this again. And you can even see what I was doing over here. Okay, so in order to cut this properly, I now have one straight edge. So I want to make it really nice and straight. I don't have to. I mean, it really just depends. If I'm making it for me, I might forego this and just, because I've been getting pretty good edges using just my, yeah, that's good. Just with using the borders. So I'm just lining it up there. So now I've got it lined up. I have it lined up in a way that as long as I don't move it, and I've got to be careful not to move it, I can cut. So I am lining up. Okay, this is going to end up being really interesting because I'm going to end up cutting off part here and part there. My goodness. This really is wonky. In order to get this straight, I would have to cut all of that. Can you see that? Now I think I do have to cut that, and it means I'm going to have to go back and re-sew the top part, but that's okay because we're all about squaring this up right now. Normally, I would not go back over the top of it. That is not something I would normally want to do. Now, what you can see here is that this actually was where it was all attached. So now I'm going to be going back and reattaching it. Get that out of the way. And we're going to rethink this one. I'm lining it up, figuring out exactly where I want it to be so that I can get a nice square project. I'm lining it up. If you can see this, I'm lining it up here and I'm lining it up there so that I can have it right where I want it. This one's not going to be too bad. we go. A little bit of there. Get that out. Okay. All right, we're doing okay. We've got one side to resew. This side stayed sewed. That one was pretty square. This side needs to be resewn. This doesn't really have to be, but I'm going to. And so now I'm aligning it over here. I'm going to, again, this is part of why I say I'm squaring it. I'm going to try to pull this up a little bit so you can see at least a little bit more of what I'm doing. I don't know if that's helping. I'm trying. I will get my taller camera for next time I do one of these right here. Okay, so I'm going to line this up. I can't go that tall, so I'm just going to line it up along this edge, way over on this side. And what's interesting is you really get to see how wonky this is when you start to square it. Because that's where I'm going to have to cut. So it definitely changes the size in order to get it square and more not professionally finished, but more finished. Okay. I'm also pressing down really hard on the ruler. Like I said, normally I do not go back and forth, but on this one, I thought I needed to. So you can see how much of the mat I actually had to just cut off there in order to get it square. Now that I've done that, now that it's nice and square and it held in place, I'm going to go back and I'm going to resew. I'm going to resew this part, the top and bottom. But it does look nice and square. I'm happy with that. So maybe not that. What happened there? It looks like right at the top here. Just a wee bit right there. All right. That's not the way I should do that, okay. So let me get this into place. Now it's going to be a lot easier for me. And because the edge of this mat is now raw, that's why I went back and forth on the end here. That's why I anchored it. I didn't like that. Okay. That one's down. Okay. And let's do this side. And then we are going to be ready to start working on our border. Okay, on that one, I just didn't bother to pull it over. All right. So now we have a lovely square mat, and we can kind of see this one's very square, but like I said, the other one was really wonky. Now, if you have a serger, I do not. If you have a serger, what I would do with this one is I would actually cut the mat, square the mat first, and then I would serge it before I get moving to this part, but I don't, so I'm going to do what I can do. And this works pretty well, and it goes pretty, like I said, this is pretty quick. And I'm already at the point of getting ready to, I'm going to keep that down here for a minute, getting ready to do my border pieces. So next, I have to decide what I want along my border. I like having something that is contrasting to the basic look of my mat. I like this mat. So I am going back and grabbing all of my pieces. There we go. This has been my process. It may not be a good process, but it really has been the process I've been using. Okay, so I know I don't want to use the ones that I just used. I like mixing it up, and I don't like having the exact same ones on here. You will definitely need you'll need a certain amount. So I'm going to measure it out. I don't, let's see, I'll see if I can get some exact measurements for you. So I'm going to start with this one. It is not necessarily contrasting, but I like that it sort of blends a little bit, but it's much darker than the other ones that I'm using. All right, I'm going to leave that one out for a minute. We'll see how that one looks. So I'm looking for things that I don't want them to clash, but I do want them to be different. So I'm going to grab a couple of different pieces here that I think might suit. I do like to mix lights and darks when I do this. I think it makes them stand out a little bit more. Some of these are just really down to the tiny pieces, and some of them have quite a bit left. So this is a constant sort and resort for me. And I said I have not used polka dots. I'm going to leave these out as an option for a minute. I'll put those up here. I suppose that could be an option. Okay, I have a few. Let me move these out of the way and see if I like what I've picked so far. So this one, so really when you do this, you would only need, I think it's approximately 2 full-length strips if that's what you want to do. I break it up quite a bit. So I usually use, I don't know, let me do a quick measurement. Just about 20, I usually use about 2 of the 22-inch lengths of this, and then I'll use maybe a 6-inch additional length on the 2 side sections. So I'm kind of looking to see, like I would take this piece, which at the moment is, I'm going to move this out of the way. Move my batch of junk out of the way. So I'm measuring down below. Oh, stuff fell on me. So at the moment, this piece is, oh, good gracious. 25 inches. This one's about 25 inches. So I might break this in half. So we've got that would be about 12.5 inches. And then I would make put those on either corner. But I also really like that. I don't like, however, these two together. I think they're too similar, and they're both dark. I don't know. But I haven't used them like that, so how would that look? I don't like it. So I really like this one. And I like this one. So, but together they're not going to quite be enough. Do I like that one? That one's not right at all. Okay. Do I like this? No, I think I need more blues. So I do like some things that sort of, like this I think pops out because it's much darker than any of the other pieces that I use. But I still want it to have some flavor, some of the same flavor to it. So let's look at this one. This one's got a lot of pink in it. Okay. Okay. All right, this is what I'm going to do. We'll see how it works. It's not going to hurt it. I mean, it's not going to hurt it no matter what I do. I'm going to try to leave this a little bit more like that. What's in the way? Oh, it's the actual thing. All right, try to see if we can get rid of that. Ha ha ha. No. This holder is just super interesting. Okay, there we go. So what I'm going to do is I am actually going to I'm going to put this one in the middle, I think. Or do I want to do it that way? It's still going to do that. I'm going to put this in the middle. And we'll see what happens. It'll be fine no matter what. So in order to make my binding, here's what I do. Find the actual end of this thing. I'm going to put my pieces together like this. Now, when I first started doing this, and I might do this again. Gracious. When I first started doing binding, wait, it's being so difficult. Holy cow. So I really want this kind of flat right there. Now to make it easy, I often don't do this. I don't put the pin in. I probably should. But to make it easier on myself, I'm going to put a pin in right now because this, right there. What I do is I want this edge and this edge to be literally exactly abutted. I want them exactly against each other. Now, there are other ways to do this. This is just the way I do it. So, and they always go in this direction for me. So we're going to move over just a wee bit. You're a little bit closer to my machine. All right. So what I want to do here is I want to start this literally right where the edge would be, right at the corner. This should hit my corner as close as it possibly can, if not spot on. Okay. And then I'm lining this up. This is this tape that I use. This is the actual center of where my needle should be. And what I want my needle to do is to come out right between those two pieces of fabric. So I'm going to get it started. And I am just not going to go too fast. All right. Now I'm going to bring this one around because I want to make one continuous piece as close as I can. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. And I want to use the side that is flat. Always putting right sides together. Now, I could do this, where I can start it in that corner and end it in the other. I like to line them up sort of abutted to each other because it gives me what I feel is a much better, straighter section. But if it's not absolutely perfect, guys, seriously, no one will know. No one will know but you. I am way too old to worry about perfect. Really. It's unfortunate, but it's true. I'm just kidding. But sort of. Okay, now, and I'm lining them up like this just so I can, oh, look at that moved. Okay, I'm lining them up like this so I don't waste fabric. So I'm doing There we go, right at the corner. I'll line this one up here. Let's see how we do. And I'm going slow. Big Brit just came in to check on us. There we go. This one does not require a huge amount of anything. So, that one is slightly off, but again, it's actually, for some reason, it didn't pick up on that corner. Well, that's weird. But you can see that it picked up, it's perfect here. So I'm not going to worry about that. That's going to be sewn down. It's not going to be an issue. It's close enough to the edge. It's more than 1/4 of an inch. I'm not going to worry about it. I am not, I don't have to be perfect. I don't know why it moved though. Oh, it shifted. Big Brit came in and my fabric shifted. Yep, see, that's why I like to abut it. But because this side came out pretty perfect, it's not actually going to make a difference. So, yeah. You can see why it's a good thing I'm not a dressmaker. And then I just cut off that corner, and I'm going to iron this down. And I'll show you that in a minute. Let's see how this one worked. Okay, and that one worked pretty perfectly. You can see, we got all of our edges in, and it looks pretty well like it's one continuous piece of fabric. So I'm just going to cut off, I'm leaving about 1/4 of an inch there, just trimming it down so I don't have too much bulk. I'm going to move that out of the way for a minute. Okay. And we're going to move over a little bit. So what I'm doing now is I'm opening these up and I'm going to iron them down. First, I'm going to do a little finger press, which really just means I'm running my finger along it to make it push open. And then I'm going to do a little press. No, I'm going to do a little iron press. There we go. That opening, like I said, it takes away some of the bulk when I do it that way. So you can see I haven't bothered to press the entire pieces, and they probably need it. But I'm not going to worry too much about it at the moment, because when I iron them open, let me get this one. Okay, so the next thing I do, actually I am going to, I wasn't going to, but I'm going to. Shoot. It's hard to work in this, okay, put that down for a minute. I'm wrapping it around, and that's not a good idea. I'm iron. Here we go. So I'm just going to give it a quick iron. Because when I finalize this, when I get it done and ready, I want it to look good. So we're going to do this, and then I'm going to try to get some better lighting in here to do the next part. Because if you haven't done the binding, it's tricky and it's not tricky. I put it that way. It's honestly just something you have to get used to doing. It's one of those things where the more you do it, the kind of the easier it gets. But the first thing I'm doing, as you can see, is I'm just making my continuous binding piece. And yeah, I mean, you can make mistakes on it, but it's just wasn't a big deal. That was an easy enough one. It was close enough to the edge. If it had been way off, I would have had to redo it, but it's just not. It's close enough that it won't make a difference. Okay, so the next thing I do is I'm just going to fold this puppy over. Oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm going to start by doing this. Okay. There are many ways to finish a binding. This is just one of those ways. This is the way I like to use. You'll see in a little while. I could explain to you why I just did that corner. That is exactly the way I want my corner to be. You'll see what I mean in a little bit. Okay. So now I'm just going to do this with the entire thing. I'm ironing it in half. And I want it to be practically perfect. On this part, neatness really, really matters. You know, doing this pretty much as close as you can. It's going to really matter to your final. It's not into the camera. It really will matter to your final project. Let's see if I can get the camera up a little bit more. Yes, I did. Left my iron sitting down one day without thinking about it. I put it straight down and then went, oh, golly. And yeah. Oh, well. Those are the marks that are not coming out. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep ironing and creating my binding. Okay. And you can see it's lining up really, really well. If my binding was off, it would not line up well. And that, you know, really, you got to redo that. If it's really off, those pieces that it didn't quite fully connect the way it should have, but it wasn't really off either, because it lined up well enough. Look at all that. I'm just going to get some of that out of the way. There we go. Almost there. Now on one side you saw, and again, if you already know how to do binding, you know, I do not purchase binding anymore. I don't like it. Generally. Okay, there we go. So, let me get this iron out of the way so I don't burn myself. I've done that before. So so on this side, you can see I am not making the corner that I did on this side. And there's a reason, and the reason is that this side is going to end up tucked inside here. So when we get to the end, and I'll show you how we're going to do that, but when we get to the end, this side ends up tucked up under there, and then the whole piece is sewn down so it really looks continuous. Now, again, as I said, there are other ways to do that. There are people who actually combine these and sew them together, and then that does make a really nice continuous piece. And there are ways that we can do that. But it's not necessary as long as you tuck this far enough under and both of these go under, both of these get sewn down, it doesn't make a difference. Not really much of a difference. I don't know if it makes a difference. So anyway, so what we'll do is we're actually going to start with this side, and we will start pinning it on the back side. And we're going to go pretty far over. Well, I say pinning. We're going to use these little clips. This is what I like to use. I'm going to go way far over without being too crazy. I want there to be space on this end. I am not, however, going to start sewing this part down yet. That is for later. What I am going to do is pin some of it far enough in that I have room to work. So that when I get to this end, which is really where I'm going to finish it, when I get to this end, I want room to work. I want extra amount of this binding so that I can actually manipulate it. If I sewed it too close, I wouldn't have any room to move it around to make sure that I'm getting it secure enough and all the pieces together enough. And it's, you know, really and truly that simple. So now I'm going to start. I've given myself, you know, more than 6 inches. Let's see how much I've actually given myself. I have given myself, it'll be about 8 inches. About 8 inches from here to here, and then I'll start on here. Now, For this step, I am not pinning it. I'm just not. I could pin it, or I could try pinning some of it down. You don't want to pin too much of this down. You don't want, let's see if we can get that closer. Let's see if we can get that light better. Oh, no. Now I'm dropping everything. There we go. How's that? Let's see what we can do here. I'm trying to move one of my lights around. Maybe that's better. Maybe it's not. Y'all tell me later. Okay, we throw a little light on that. Because the light is... Here, I'm trying to get this little spotlight down here. Come on, there we go. Now I've got a camera right in front of me, so this is going to be interesting. Yeah, I'm going to erase that a little bit. I'm just going to raise that a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. Hopefully you can see and I can see. All right, so I'm starting at the end of my last clip, and that does give me the full amount. And I am just making sure that this is lined up, that the two, like any two pieces of fabric we're putting together, I'm lining this up really as well as I can. I'm going to do a 1/4 inch. And with this one, I am anchoring. Now, this likes to twist on me. I don't appreciate that. When I get to here, I need to leave at least a 1/4 inch right here. Now, there are ways you can do that. I usually use my finger, but you don't have to. Let me do this. Come on. There we go. Okay, so 1/4 inch is going to be, okay, that's the corner. Right about there. So I could just do this. I could do that ahead of time so I know exactly where I'm supposed to stop. So for right now, we're going to do that. But I do generally use my finger. And remember, the mat wants to keep turning. For whatever reason, it just does. Okay, so I got to that corner, and this is where I stop. And I cut off my thread. Oh, golly. I just got my scissors caught up in this. Oh, thank goodness it didn't cut. Okay. So it's our first section. Now, I'm just going to fold that up. It's like making a hospital corner on your bed. I'm going to fold that up right there. So I've got it coming right down here. That's going to give me what I need as far as my corner. So I've got it lined up. Can you see that? Now I'm going to stick it under there. And again, I've got my 1/4 inch here. I like to do that. Now, it's going to keep trying to get out of control. Notice I went right back over the edge. It's okay. I don't have to worry about anything. Once I get the corner done, I can go right back over that edge. And here I'm going to keep checking to make sure that everything is lined up and practically perfect. I do not want mistakes here. What I have noticed is that this likes to try to push the fabric back under. I don't know why. See? It just did it. I'm going to go back. See how it's trying to push the fabric up? I don't know why it does that. It's really freaky. So we're going to just make sure that it doesn't do that. This is where we're going to make sure. I'm going to use this and I'm just going to push that down. For years, I saw people do that and I was like, why are they doing that? Now, for this time, I'm going to use my finger. Now, oh. I did my 1/4 inch. Yeah, it definitely tried to go wonky. Now, guys, this is where I made that little mistake where the fabrics weren't quite flush. You can see that everything got caught up. It's not going to make a difference. But it was so close. Now, on some of them, it might have made a difference. And I would have, like I said, I would have had to fix it. So, okay. Oh, look, the heat kicked in. Okay, so again, I am making my little corner here. Nice and easy. I'm going to pull this around so it doesn't twist on me. We're really almost there. Again, this is taking a little bit longer because I'm talking through it and we're going through it. They really, really only take, once you get used to them, half an hour. Okay. It is thick when you first start out. Now, I am still just using a normal universal needle. But it can get thick, and if your machine, I also have a heavy-duty machine, so, just do what works for you. Now, notice I keep checking this, and I keep checking this. I really want to stay aligned to my 1/4 inch. Really, really. And I'm going kind of slow and I keep stopping. And this really is just to ensure that I don't have some of those problems. Right there, I could see it starting to try to pull the fabric in. Not today. You're not going to get away with that today. Another day, probably. Now, what I'm doing is probably a wee bit dangerous because my finger is getting pretty close. So I am not going to suggest anyone do what I just did. You can either eyeball it, you can use your pens the way we did in the very first one, because I really do not want to be responsible for anyone having a finger sewn. So, it's case of do what I say, not what I do. Please. Honestly, I would feel terrible. I really would. Now, this is interesting. It's going to turn out I have way more than I need, or at least somewhat more than I need as far as my border, and that's fine. I would much rather have more than I need than less. I've had that happen, and I've had to fix it while I kind of went, and that was not fun. This one does, like I said, this works a little bit better if you go a little bit slower with the border. And then I'm just going to keep double checking it. But with this one, you really do, you can't not pull it off. You really have to, you know, get it all the way off. Okay. Last time. Lining up. Okay. We're not going to go too far with this one. I'm lining it up a wee bit. And I'm actually going to undo this one so I don't accidentally sew it down. But I'm not going to go far. I just want to anchor this at this point. Okay. I'm going to put this down. See how close we are? All right, at this point, here's what I'm going to do. This is where I think it gets tricky. And I actually even went too far up. Okay, so we had a wee technical issue. We meaning the battery died. It's all fixed. I took the opportunity to get some more light in here and to get you all a little bit closer to what we were doing. I have actually gone in a little too close with my stitches right here. It's okay. This actually still goes underneath, but that's what I preferably I would have given myself a little bit more room to work here to get this piece under here. So I'm going to, that's what we're going to work on right now. I'm going to backtrack just a bit. I'm going to reverse this just a bit. Be better if I did that. Okay, that gives me a little bit more room to see what I'm doing. What am I doing? So what we're going to do is we're going to actually put this piece inside this piece. And I want it to be far enough under so that it doesn't, let me see if I can pull you back a little bit more. It needs to be far enough under so that it doesn't interfere with this. I want to make sure that this is not a problem. I don't get it so close to that edge that it could possibly miss that edge. So what we're going to do here is I'm actually going to cut it much further down. We're going to just cut this off. I can add this piece later to something else if I want to or use it. But I'm cutting it, yeah. And probably, you know, an inch or two past this piece. And I am tucking it under. This is probably, for me, I mean, for many of you, it may not be tricky at all. But for me, this is the trickiest part. So this is the part where I need to be, you know, really paying attention to my game and making sure that this is taut, you know, not to the point of being out of alignment. I don't want it so taut that it messes up and makes everything pucker, but I definitely want it to work together. And you can see this piece does not want to go all the way under, but that's okay. My line is this piece. So we'll push it in a little bit further. I mean, that's pretty good. For me, that's very good. So, okay, so I'm gonna go nice and slow, making sure I catch everything. There have certainly been one or two times when I have not, all right, this is right there. That's what I wanna do. I wanna make sure that that doesn't happen. So I'm gonna stop right now and make sure that everything, I'm just pushing it under. I'm not doing anything special. I'm going to move this camera just a wee bit. You'll see it from a different angle because I'm having a hard time seeing. Well, if you want to see even closer, that's just a whole big hand is all you can see there. All right, here we go. So now I'm just finishing it up. I'm just bringing it all the way to where I started my stitching. Oh my golly, this thing. It really is interesting how your fabric wants to sort of, oh, sorry about that. It wants to pull under. And it really does. Okay. Pull that up a little further, and there we go. So we've got the first part of the binding on. And let's see, what are we still stuck on here? Something. That's weird. All right, we're going to make sure, preferably without knocking into you too much. So we're just making sure that it all caught. I got a few extra hangers on. I do have smaller scissors. My gracious. These are just... Okay, and I'm gonna... So to get this angle, my camera is literally right in front of my face. So my face is above the camera, which is hilarious. And I will say it is straight, but it looks funky because this isn't straight. So our lines here, so it looks like it's out of alignment, but it's really not. But it is funny how that kind of looks that way because we've got this weird alignment down here. It won't matter. That's the bottom of our mat. We're not really going to be looking at that much. So I'm going to pull away. Oh, no, that's not what I want to do. So I'm going to move the camera a wee bit. We're going to get this light back a little bit. Put it back where it was. So you all can see again. Okay. I'm going to actually move my... Oh, look how dirty it is under there. Let me just clean that up for a second. All that stuff just gathers under there. Okay, so now I can show you what I'm doing here. So we've got, we've got like stray things going on here. So I am going to turn it over and I'm going to start just folding it, and you could pin it. I use clips, and I'm starting it in the, for me, this works. Everybody's got to do what works for them. I will say that I see different people do different things. I'm going to do what works for me, and I'm going to keep trying to align this so that it is pretty well aligned. I'm probably going to fast forward this because all I'm doing here is just kind of getting it in place. Let's see. Like I said, I want it to be, you know, approximately the same. I did make this too. Isn't it cute? These are so simple. These are very simple if you're using like some old jeans. Considering how quickly this family goes through jeans, it's ridiculous. Okay. So what I do want to show you is how I'm going to do the corner. And let's see. And again, perfection is overrated. But I'll show you what I'm doing with the corner. And this is the one. Let me make sure I get this part down. Okay. So here, to get it in a place where I can see it better. Let's get you, let's get this camera a little closer. Yep. Even closer still. There we go. Well, hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Hopefully this plays out. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm taking this corner, making sure, doing my best to get it, you know, exactly right. And I'm just folding it over. Now I can probably get that a wee bit better. There we go. And it just makes, I want my little clips. I don't need my ginormous ones. So there you go. When I sew, I'm just going to sew along that. And that's what I do at that's what I'm going to do at every corner. So you can see I've just kind of folded it over. It hasn't been pressed yet, but it's going to be fairly well aligned. I'm going to double check here to make sure that I'm getting the same I don't know, alignment, that's not the right word. Make sure I have the same width, length, whatever right here. So that's what I'm going to do. So next I'm just going to pin. You're welcome to watch. I'll try to fast forward it for you. If I forget to fast forward it, you can fast forward it. I feel like there should be some of those. This one's working really well on this side. I'm not a fast pinner. I could try to move it so you can see that. So many. I know I'm being very quiet. Y'all aren't used to me being quiet. That'd be my guess. So whether you're pinning, whether you're clipping with these little clip things, do a lot of them. Do a lot of them. It really will help keep it aligned. So when I get here, I always give myself just a wee bit more room and always try to clip. You're always going to have some extra lines right there at the corners. Try to clip there. Go. It's okay. I want to get that right there. I do those and then I come back and do these. So. This thing. There. I keep trying to fix that. I will probably continue to try to fix it. Okay, this is our last corner. Again, I'm going to try to get any loose threads out of the way before I do too much. Tons of loose threads here. then get this one down. Fair warning, the dogs are in here with me right now, so if you hear the big wolf and see me jump a mile, you know, you'll know that there's a bird outside. Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty good. So it's pinned-ish. Let's come out a little bit. So we've got this lovely clipped piece, and we are truly about done. Even though this has taken, as I said, a little bit longer because I'm trying to show you along the way, it's really a quick project, and just super, super fun. So, yeah, just saying. All right, let me get the machine back in place here, and I need to realign it. This is, I replace this tape on a regular basis, because it does tear up, but I love it. I love it. I might link where I get it on Amazon. Yep. All right, that's pretty well aligned. Because when I'm sewing, especially bigger projects, if I'm working on a quilt, which I have one next to me. Yep. If you see this one, right, this is a rolled up quilt that needs to be finished. It needs its quilting finished. So let me do this. Let me see if I can manipulate this, so that you can see and I can see. All right, we're gonna try. You guys are so patient with me, honestly, and I do appreciate it. I really do. Okay, so now I can see, and hopefully you can see. We're gonna take a sip of a beverage. You know, I have to have a sip of my beverage. I do not drink coffee. I do not like the taste. Coffee, mocha, I just do not like the taste of it, which worked out very well because my husband is allergic to caffeine, to any forms of caffeine. And so, you know, if I was a big coffee drinker, that could have been a big problem for us. Luckily, I am not, because the smell is just hard for him. The smell of chocolate is sometimes hard for him too. Okay, so I'm looking for, what did I do with it? What side is that on? Okay, so I'm going to start on the short side. Hold this up for a second so you can see what I'm looking at. I'm going to start on the short side about midway, so that I can go all the way around, and that's really where my beginning and end. I also like to start on the same side so that I'll be catching this fairly early on. So I'm going to go down this side and then across this way and catch this piece, which is where we've connected and ended our binding. So remember that I still have, hopefully I have enough in there to finish this one. I still have my my bottom, oh good Lord, bobbin. My word. My bottom, my bottom bobbin. Okay, y'all know what I'm talking about. Is gray, the same as the mat, and the top is like a nice creamy off-white, which works really well with this, because you really just don't see much of that. Even when I do this final stitch, you really won't see much. I'll go back through and sort of figure out where those things are. But I do also, a quick tip, I have extra bobbins. There we go. I got the word right. I have extra bobbins in this gray ready to go so that I don't have to slow down. You know, if I'm going to be doing some projects, and I know that I have several, so I have the gray, and I do a lot with that foamy green. I have several bobbins just kind of ready to go. So, okay, here we go. I'm going to move my little, y'all, what do y'all think of my little baggie here? Isn't it cute? I wish I could find this fabric again. I bought this years ago at a Walmart, and I would love to find this again. I love it. they had we were at the beach with my family, and we were there for a week, and it was winter, so we brought some crafts along to do as a family, just for fun, because we like it. Sorry, more beverage. And anyway, did it there, and I had run to the Walmart at the beach, and found some of the best fabrics. Okay, what I'm looking at, I'm trying to do about 1/8 of an inch. I'm actually measuring by the inside. And I know that seems odd. That's just how my brain sees it. So I'm aligning, for me, let me get something here that shows you. I'm looking at this piece and I'm aligning it about here. That's the line I'm trying to follow. That's how I do it. It is not terribly scientific. And I go slow. Very, very slow. My light on this one, so this is my Singer Heavy Duty. The light on this Singer Heavy Duty is really, really awful. I need a light right here, and the light is, I like the machine, but the light is truly horrible. I really need something more internal, I'll just tell you that, because it kind of, it just makes it harder for me, especially when I'm trying to get such tiny spaces. It just makes it hard to see, so I am going to do a little tack there, and I'm going to go slow. So I am just trying to go slow. Put that right there. Yeah, when I do this part, I go slow. This is probably the slowest I go. But trying to keep it aligned properly, so I get that really close stitch right here. All right, I went a little too far there. Bags. It won't hurt it. Just makes it a little solidier. Solidier? Yep, that's a word. Now it is. There we go. And sometimes it starts to move a little bit on you, and you just gotta kind of go with the flow here. Get it back where you want it. Oh, this one's kind of ticking me off, but yep. Okay. So at this stage, this thing is trying to do a little movement on me. So we're gonna Ooh. So remember too, I'm taking the clips off early enough that they don't cause a problem because they do raise the fabric. So there are bonuses and, you know, plus the deltas, they call it deltas and something. But anyway, pros and cons to using the clips. Whereas pins are much flatter, clips do raise things. I'm going to go back to using this again. All right, guys. I think I need to go in one more stitch here. I do a little bit of hand cranking sometimes when I get too close. It just makes sense for me. But look what it's trying to do. I can actually see in there it doesn't want what it is and isn't doing. Okay, so I'm really close. I'm back to the beginning. I'm just trim that for a second. Guys, we're almost done. Woohoo! Okay. Now I really want, when I tack, I want to make sure that I'm right over the top of the other one so that it seems like a continuous motion. Clean that up for a second. I'm going to get rid of these extra threads. With this, because of all the sewing you're doing, you may end up with a bunch of extra threads to kind of clean up on the back, and that's okay because you end up sewing. I've ended up sewing them under. So let's see. I think that's as far back as I can take you. Let's get this guy there. Sorry. Let's raise you up a little bit. Actually, nope. Done. What do you think? I'm going to give it a quick press, and in particular, I'm going to just kind of press down my binding here. A little straight edgy thing. Oh, you can't see it. There we go. What do you think? Quick, easy, pretty, simple. I will also say, although I use the strips, you don't have to. If you wanted to, you could just use a really pretty color on top and do a little simple quilting. I mean, you could use a single sheet of material this way, and then you could do whatever simple quilting you wanted to along here, as long as you're using the same color. I mean, on the back, other than you can kind of see some indentations, you can't see any different colors. The back looks fairly untouched. It just looks like it's got the indentations. Although it does look funky, doesn't it, guys? It's just so weirdly off kilter in the back, and on the front, perfectly squared. That's it. Simple, easy peasy. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you try it. And if you do, please, please, please send me a picture. I would love to see if you use this and how you like it. Thanks so much for being with me today. Cheers.